The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaraya Productions. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of How We Would Fix. Welcome to Tokucast, Marcus, and Jacob here to discuss how we would fix Kamen Rider Gotchard, the show that we have just reviewed. Would you like to start us off?
Yikes. Okay. I'm sort of trying to figure out exactly what direction we go in. And I honestly think it might be getting rid of the director and substituting him in for somebody else. It doesn't have to be America, but I feel like you could put in a lot of other directors from Toku. Put in the person who directed Decker, in all honesty. No, not Decker. Zed. Put in the person who directed Zed. Ultraman Zed. And I feel like we're already all to a better start.
So, we have Ultraman Z, show that you and I liked, I would say. What is it about the director of Z that you think would bring to Gotchard? What is something that he would bring in terms of, like, directing style that would change it up?
I feel like, especially with the episode where he meets his dad in the past, I feel like more of the emotional moments would end up having more weight, because they don't. Also, dad.
I was going to say, he would actually meet his dad in this scenario.
Yes. That was the worst thing that Gotchard did, was not do it in the show. You can't lampshade him and then never take the lampshade off. And that bothers the hell out of me. It's
less of lampshading and more like bad use of Chekhov's gun.
Yeah.
Because they hint at him early on.
Yeah.
Because they hint at They see the photo, like, I think it's in the first episode even, we see that photo.
Yeah.
And we see that the father's face is, like, shrouded in, like, light. Like, there's, like, a light reflection on it, we can't see his face. A couple times throughout the show, we see the mother pick up the photo or look at the photo and say, like father, like son, the apple hasn't fallen farther from the tree, and we never understand what that means. The thing I would change the most is the script. I think more than anything, it's the script. Because this show is structurally a complete mess.
Yes.
I think it backloads too many important things.
It
backloads too much character development.
It front-loads too much unimportant things.
I think it front-loads too much nothing.
Yeah.
So much of that middle arc is just nothing.
I didn't even talk about the middle arc. I'm talking about legitimately that first arc.
I'm okay with the first arc being just Monster of the Week stuff. I feel like that's when the show's at its strongest. Really
don't like the... Okay. We need to set the rules of Alchemy better, main. Mm-hmm. 2, the Chemis need to go.
I'm okay with keeping the Chemis, but they need more personality.
I don't think they need any. I think they really could just go.
Were you okay? Would you be okay if they were just like magic cards?
Yes.
And they didn't have any personality?
Yeah. Because that was my biggest issue with Drive, where they tried to give them so much personality and then they didn't matter. I know that the Chemis ended up mattering a little bit more in this, but I really think with how predatory that the show seemed, especially with its toys, that they didn't need it.
I think I get what you're saying, because they characterize them just enough to entice someone to buy them and be like, oh, now I can, like, make the noise as I play with my toys. Or, they make some sort of a noise as it does.
But they're in card packs.
Yes, they're in card packs, but also... Did they not sell, like, a physical Hopper or anything?
I believe they did. But I also hated Hopper. So I was good with none of them making noise. We didn't need a Pokemon in this.
I feel like it needs to go more in one direction or, like, all the way in the other. It's either make them just cards, make them just, like, a magical set of cards that have been created through alchemy. It's like, long ago, the alchemists, the high-ranking alchemist, he created these cards as a way to harness energy that he could use to transmute into his own power, and he became the first Gotchard, or something like that. Just a little bit of lore, a bit of backstory. Or they're more sentient and they're more involved, and they are like some sort of race that was created. They've been living in peace, and now like a force is like coming and disrupting them. And anthropomorphize them a little bit more. I talked about this in our review, but if you made them a little bit more like Pokemon, if you made them more expressive, if they were more fully animated, if they were more as I said, anthropomorphized and less just like...
Because I really think the only ones that end up, talking were Wizard and the vampire one.
Yeah.
And, of course, Gone.
Yeah, Gone. And, Zakumpire was, like, turned into, like, a full-on human. Like, like an actual, like, actor is playing him on screen. That's the only one that did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to what you said, setting up the rules. Now, when it comes to following your own internal logic, I don't need it to adhere to our own real-world logic.
Yeah.
I don't need it to do that. What I need to do, set up the rules for your own in-universe and stick to them.
Yeah, because they really tried to combine alchemy with chemistry more than anything else in this.
Which that's fine.
Which is fine.
It's magic. You can change it however you want in a fictional setting.
But it's just the fact that they play real fast and loose with those rules the more the show went along.
Again, like I said this in the review, it's the fact that the rules keep changing. It's like, there's only 100 chemis. No, actually, there's 101. No, actually, there's 102. There's a governing body of alchemists. Where are they? We never see them. What is their input on anything that's going on? There was like another school that Minato attended, and then that got destroyed by Gleon. He killed his best friend. Does anyone ever bring this up? Is there any... By that I mean, like, anyone in the higher ups, is there any, like, it's happening again, we've seen a case like this 20 years ago, or, something like that. Never happens. There's an alchemic academy hidden in the woods. We don't get introduced to that until...
Episode 40.
Yeah, like post-episode 40.
Episode 39 and 40, I believe.
It's something around there. It's in the last, like, 10 or so episodes.
It's so late.
And it's like, this is something you need to open your show with. This is something you need to do in the world-building section in the beginning. Like, learning about Sabi, learning about Renge, learning about their pasts, and how they could later bond with Hotaro as a result, because they've had shared experiences that don't just involve looking for chemis. That's the kind of thing you need to put at the front of the show.
Yeah.
You put it towards the very end, and it's like, why should I care? The show's almost over. What are you trying to do? Why are you trying to flesh more things out?
Yeah.
If we're in the end game, this is when you focus on wrapping things up, not trying to build out more.
It's why I say that this feels like poor man's Forze. Without any of the fun of Gentaro. Speaking of people's names that end in Ro.
Segue.
Hotaro needs to go. He might be the worst part of this show. He is the worst part of this show for me. Amongst all the chemis and everything else, I do not like him or Renge at all. Mm-hmm. I feel like I know you disagree more on this, but I feel like if they really would have built out Spanner's story to
when you say Renge, did you mean Rine or Renge?
Rine, okay, yes.
Because they have similar names. That's another problem. Names are too similar, change them.
But I feel like if they would have built out Spanner's story to be, span the entire show, he would have been a much more interesting one to follow than Man Who Wants to Make Friends with Trading Cards.
What would you have done differently?
Made Spanner the main character.
Okay.
I feel like you have more to do with him and Dad who's dead, so we don't have to worry about not seeing his face.
I was going to say, both of his parents are dead. We don't need to worry about them
being
alluded to.
The biggest problem with his parents being dead is they appear for an episode and a half.
Yeah, they appear for half an episode or so, and then that gets instantly resolved. Yeah. He becomes Kamen Rider, and he's like, I'm not Malice anymore, until he becomes obsessed with dying for our sins.
I feel like you could have had, like, the whole thing with his first form as well. You could have had that be his form until he, does something to really become worthy of the name of Kamen Rider. Or even if you do have Hotaro there, make him the secondary, but still give him all the power-ups. I feel like that'd be a weirdly interesting dynamic between the two of them.
I feel like if you're going to make Spanner the main character and completely remove Hotaro, here's what I do. Mm-hmm. So, he's kind of like... Spanner is kind of like the go-between stage between, like, Professor and... He's not like quite at the rank of Professor yet, but
he's a teaching assistant.
Yeah, he's like good. He's good. He's strong enough to like go out and fight on his own.
He's a TA.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that he refers to Minato Sensei as senpai.
Yeah.
The fact that like you're higher up in the organization than me. Like there is that respect there. And if you're going to have Minato later betray him, I think there's more interesting stuff to do there.
Yeah.
Considering like. if they're coming up in the same organization, just, like one rank behind each other, then he probably, like, Spanner could probably already know about his history and what happened. So he already has a way in on preventing that heel turn from happening in the first place.
Especially at the end where it's just like, Kimmies are bad. Get rid of them. I feel like, especially because we would have had more of an interesting dynamic between him and... Why am I...
It would also...
her name?
You're talking about the inventor, right?
Yes. I feel like we would have had more of an interesting dynamic with her than Hotaro and his mom, who wasn't there a lot. But I know that was something...
She wasn't there very much.
It's not exactly her fault. Something was going on with the actress's husband where he got arrested outside of the show. So she couldn't be there the entire time.
Jeez.
And I feel like that really robbed us of a Sukeban Deka episode with her. Considering the fact that she was the main character in that show back in the 80s. So I'm just like, I feel like we're missing out on something really interesting here.
I think another benefit to having Spanner as your lead would be you already have a main character who knows the world.
Yeah.
If you have a main character who knows the world, but you can use him in a way to bring us into it as well. Because if you had him as a teaching assistant, if you had him as someone who was like mentoring the students, you could also have him, if say like Rene like first joins the Alchemy Academy in the first episode or something, then it's like, okay, I'm here to mentor you and the other two students. So it's like you have him mentoring younger students, being mentored by Minato, and also with the inventor going with her, and like you would have like 3 different prongs by which you could enter this world.
Yeah.
We have mentoring, we have being the mentee, or the mentee, and also how does alchemy work? How are we using that with science? How are we using it to make more inventions? How are we creating riders? How does alchemy work in this world in general? It's like you have 3 different ways by which you can interact with the world.
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
We didn't even really talk about Daybreak in the show proper, in our review proper. He was probably the most interesting version of Hotaro, which is why I think that's why he became like the main character of the movie.
That's him from the future.
Yeah.
Honestly, once I realized they were doing time travel, it's just like, no, this is not where this needs to happen.
This is sort of the...
I'm not interested in a time travel story from this show.
No, not with him. Although, like I said, I like the future version of Hotaro because he seemed more grounded, even though he lost Rene at some point. And it was just like, look, an interesting character, finally. But, Future Daybreak, Legend should have just stayed a special and not barge his way into the show.
It was awful.
Like, it's great seeing those suits again. Yes, I will always say that. But I really felt like you could have just left him in a special and we would have been all right with that.
The relationship with Spanner and Lachesis could have been much more interesting, I think, if he were the lead.
Yeah.
Or, forget if he's the lead, even if they had just done more with it.
Yeah.
It would have been more interesting.
Like I said, Rene needs her Kamen Rider form if they're going to keep her in the show. Should have debuted in the show.
I didn't watch what it is that you said it debuted in.
The Keith Gotchard movie.
I didn't watch that, and it felt
like...
You
missed nothing.
Apparently I didn't, because it felt like it debuted in the show. I didn't feel like anything was missing.
It debuted... she mentions that the episode that takes place immediately after. Because I think there's an episode in between the movie and when it actually debuts in the show. Because it all takes place in the same timeline. She mentions that she can't transform right now.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. But yeah. Rene, like I said, this could be a director's issue or something. But Rene and Hotaro's actors. And it feels mean to talk about like the actors in this case, but man, oh man, they, especially Rene, bogged this show down. It was like cardboard and excited cardboard. So they became really annoying and or really boring really quickly.
Yeah, I think that would be a combination of like the big three. It's acting, it's directing, it's script.
Yeah.
For me, the big thing that you would need to change is the writing. I think that's what it all comes down to. I think they're okay. It goes from scene to scene. Some scenes, I think both of them do okay. And then there are others where I think they're doing really bad. And it's a combination of the dialogue and the directing. The story, again, like the way it's structured, the way it's written, it's messy. Characters will go back and forth between having different motivations from scene to scene. Does she like her dad? Does she hate her dad? Does she think he's a traitor? Does she miss him? Also,
her dad should stay dead.
If a character dies, make it clear. Please, for the love of God, I was so confused.
Like Roxy Andrews, you're here to make it clear. Because, my God, him coming back was just like, there is no longer any emotional weight in this show whatsoever. It's gone. And the thing that we could have had with Spanner got Thanos snapped after an episode and a half. So we're just sitting here like, well, guess that's over.
So it would seem. Can you think of anything else?
Gideon.
Oh, gosh.
And the Three Kings. Two of them could have been gone. They were unneeded.
I think all three of them could have been gone. I don't think you needed any of them. Because Gigas, the first one to show up, when he shows up,
he
spends the first 3 episodes of his appearance just kind of sitting in a warehouse somewhere going, yes, I shall do evil things.
Two of those weren't
some
his
point.
fault. 2 of those weren't his fault.
I don't care.
2 of those were the Legend episodes.
I don't care. It was still stupid.
So it's just he got sidelined.
And then the Legend episodes happened, and it's here's other villains.
Yeah, he got
dead. Who cares?
Here's Boone Violet. He got sidelined almost immediately. So we're just sitting here I guess it was in the background while Hunter goes around and does Boone Violet things. But it was weird. It was very, very badly paced.
Leon's he's a human being. Actually, he's a homunculus. It's kind of like a dwarf in the flask situation where he's an artificial creation that wants something, but what he wants is just, I want gold. I want to turn the world into gold so I can admire it forever.
Yeah.
That motivation doesn't really work with this character.
No, it doesn't even work with the story because it doesn't make sense.
I never get the sense that you never get the sense that he is trying to
make sense.
Preserve something in a way that he can admire its beauty.
Yeah. It feels like he's just doing it to do it, but it's just there's no motivation.
It's we had to give him a motivation, and the one they gave him was stupid. I think it comes down to that.
And it's good, to have a villain who's just a villain for villain's sake. I appreciate, I'm going to be evil.
The pure evil type.
Yeah, it's that's fun. We haven't done that often.
It can be fun, yes.
But here it's just no. Especially when you're coming off of the Three Sisters.
And again, Father from Full Metal Alchemist, we find out that they're, artificial life forms. They exist only to serve him. Again, Lachesis growing out of that is interesting.
And even Clotho.
But again, they do nothing with it.
And then even Clotho realizing, she has a thing that she wants. She wants her family to stay together.
Yeah.
But Atropos is just hey, this is your fault.
She started out so promising, but my goodness, they did not use her well.
Not at all. It's sad, truly. But yeah, and the Three Kings is just...
And I feel like making her the more intelligent and well-spoken of them was a mistake. I feel like if Atropos acted more like a kid and was more of a we have to protect her because she's a newer life form.
Yeah.
I feel like that would work better. Maybe she has a great power that she isn't able to quite control yet because she's so young.
Well, if I remember correctly, because I'm fairly sure they might be basing this a little bit off of the SMT version of it. She's the oldest, but she looks the youngest. So that could be why they went this direction.
It could be, but I think changing it would have worked.
Because I liked her. I liked her actress. Her actress was, like I said, probably the best acted character in this entire goddamn show. But when the bar is so low, how much farther can you go?
The acting limbo.
But yeah, and like I said, the Three Kings, you're just why are you here?
We can kill them, but then we can't kill them. But then when we kill them, they come back. But then turns out Galeon's also a homunculus or something. And then he's also a king. And then he makes a king. And
people die when they are killed.
I'm glad you cleared that up.
This show is not good. And we've already talked about that in nauseam. But it's just like...
Consider this our review part 2.
Yeah, it's just like there's so many things that...
We did get to talk about things that we didn't talk about last time.
Yeah, which is, our fault. We completely forgot about Gotchard Daybreak. What can you blame us? But yeah, I feel like there are a lot of ways that you could have fixed a lot of the issues in this show. And even if Hotaro was the main character, they made him just a little bit more like, I want to really learn alchemy instead of befriending Kimmy's. Mm-hmm. It would have made things so much more interesting and also made the reasons why his,
It would have given us another door into learning how alchemy works.
Yes, it also would have given us no Gon if the Kimmys weren't there. So it just I feel like we would have gotten the something in the gold or something in the platinum in this case because we're in the modern time. So platinum would end up being the more, needed or I want this one more than anything else. Platinum could have been his final form, and we could have gotten something really interesting with that. Would have had iron, earlier, or rather, that could have been the mid-season power for all we know, because he got iron and platinum within like 2 episodes of each other.
Yeah.
There was a spider. It died. Sag. But yeah, let us know how you would have fixed Gotchard in the comments below. Don't forget to join us all the things, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching.